Hello, welcome back everyone to what I'm appear to be calling Shouting into the Void, which I think I've settled on now, 5 episodes in. I'm Connor, this is Liam. Um, yeah, we're here to talk about Doctor Who. In particular, the new Who, which started in 2005. If you've just joined us, we're on episode 5, World War Three, which is the second part of the two-parter with the Slovene. So if you've missed the first one, you can go and watch it if you want, or you can just jump right in now. To recap, in the first episode, the Slovenes staged a attack on London. They've infiltrated the Prime Minister, and the Doctor is being electrocuted. Rose and Harriet Jones are watching a man die, and Jackie's about to get killed in the kitchen. And then this episode is basically the conclusion. Naturally, there are episodes after this, so you can guess they get out of it. But yeah, what did you think of World War Three?
I really enjoyed it. I think aside from Unquiet Dead, it's my favorite of the series so far. I enjoyed the last episode more than I remembered anyway. But yeah, I really had a lot of fun with this one. I think it was thoroughly entertaining. I think it wasn't as silly, which is why I probably preferred it. I think a very satisfying conclusion to the story.
Yeah, even sort of when it finished, I was like, this is my top one so far.
Oh, wow.
I know we mentioned sort of last week that when it comes to Doctor Who two-parters, the second part tends to be sort of worse than the first. But I was sort of sat there watching this, and I was like, no, I prefer this in every way.
Yeah, I did as well. Yeah.
From the characters, from the plot, to sort of how the aliens act. I think everything about this was definitely up a notch.
Yeah.
I guess we'll start with the best bits. So, what was your top bit?
The trio of the Doctor, Rose, and Harriet Jones. I really liked how they all worked together, and I think it is kind of good writing and good performances that you kind of forget they spend most of the episode trapped in the same room, because they just make it all about that kind of friendship, and they bounce off each other very well, I think. And it's cool to see the fact that the Doctor and Rose's relationship has been pretty well established up till now. So now they can bounce off a different person. I think that kind of keeps it fresh and stuff. I really did enjoy how Harriet kind of fit in with those two. I think better than the last episode, but she didn't really get to interact with the Doctor in the last episode. So I think that's kind of what helps make it. It just makes me sad, knowing where it all ends up with good old Harriet. I mean, apparently re-elected 3 times or something. I don't think so. Time can be rewritten, I'm afraid, Harriet. But yeah, I really enjoyed those 3. I think their scenes were probably my highlights of the episode. I think they carried it.
Yeah, I think my top one is Harriet Jones. She was, and considering she was in my worst list last week, I thought that I'd prefer her in this one, and I did. She just had she did get some perspective.
Yes.
She was much more grounded in this. She was much more, but what about this? And she was actually in the situation rather than just sort of around the outside. She felt like she had a part. She helped figure out how to defeat the Slovene.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes of the episode, actually, them working all that out.
Well, that's the other thing I put on my notes: investigation rather than exposition. So recent seasons, any season of Doctor Who, there's those episodes where the villain will just throw out everything you need to know about them, where they're from, what they're doing, what their plan is. And you get a bit of that in this one. You get we're the Slovene, we're from this planet. No, you don't even get the from this planet. We just get we're the Slovene, we're going to destroy this planet for money. And then they've got to figure out, okay, whereabouts do they come from? How can we stop them? And they do that with the added pressure of my mum and boyfriend are going to die.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that the Doctor didn't know where they were from. It would have been just easy to just be like, oh yeah, I know where they're from. I know this planet actually, having seen them. So yeah, it's very different. I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of, especially when the show brings back so many classic villains. You just kind of know them. So it is fun to see the Doctor actually have to work something out.
Although obviously Big Finish do a lot of stuff now, and I'm pretty sure the Slitheen have now met previous Doctors.
Almost
So
certainly.
there is some kind of continuity, unless they do like what they do with River, where the Doctor conveniently forgets at the end of the
Every
episode or
single
something like
time. Yeah.
that. So unless they've done that, then why didn't the Doctor know? But you could argue that he just forgot. He's been traveling for 900 odd years. He can't
Yeah.
remember everything. But yeah, back to Harriet Jones. Yeah, much more to do. And I even I wrote down was Harriet Jones elected for 3 successive terms, and then I put doubt because if like she's elected the next time we see her, but that I don't know how many months that is, but surely that's only like 6 months to the Christmas invasion, literally as it would be, because Big Ben's still being rebuilt, and it's implied in that that's where she gets booted.
Yeah.
So it's a strange one, that one, but I guess they just sort of thought when it came to Christmas, we need a recognizable figure, a nice cameo for Christmas. Who can we bring in on the cheap? Oh, let's get Harriet Jones back.
Yeah, I think they wanted someone from Chris Eccleston's era to like help people with the new Doctor and everything, so they can have a couple of people that are familiar with him.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense, to be fair. Speaking of Chris Eccleston, we'll go on to my second best bit. Yeah, the Ninth Doctor. He had a lot more to do in this episode, I thought. He seemed to be, he was happier in this. He was more in his element, I think.
Yeah.
When he was when he was deciding on the planet, when he was confronting the aliens, and when he was sort of coming up with the plan, that was proper the Doctor's thinking and saving us moments. And just the acting from Chris Eccleston in the first place was spot on. Throughout the whole episode, and you can see that when he confronts the Slitheen at the door. First of all, with the triplicating the flammability line, where that's the kind of thing that happens in Doctor Who, where he says something and you're like, yeah, okay, and then it's only when they go, that's not real. He's like, that wasn't real. I like that.
The Doctor would have been proud of him for that moment.
Yeah, and then similarly, when he opens the door again and Margaret's there, and she's like, nah, you ain't gonna stop us, and is laughing at him, but his face is just blank. And then she realizes that, oh shit,
just
piss this guy off. So I don't have too much to say because I guess it's not what you can say, but it was just one of the standout performances, I think, of the episode for myself. So what was your second point?
The confrontation between the Doctor and Margaret at the door. So that worked out very well. I think the performances were just kind of spot on there. I love, see, that was the Slitheen laugh thing that I think works, whereas the cliffhanger thing last time maybe didn't. I do think overall the comedy with the Slitheen was actually a bit better in this one. There was a charm to this thing going before it explodes. But yeah, Russell T Davies, I think, said he brought Margaret back later on because of obviously the actress being good in this one. I think that scene is kind of probably what set it in stone. It just has her face drops. The Doctor's been like, yeah, me, I'm going to kick your ass, basically. It's a great prelude, I think, to the next episode. There's a lot of darkness with Nine in that scene. And I think the next episode is potentially the darkest Nine gets, at least on screen. Maybe apart from the finale, but really in the next one. So it sets up that very well, I think, in terms of placement in the series. And I think it sets up a great continuation of that dynamic in Boomtown as well. So yeah, I really love the tension behind that scene.
Yeah, I mean, I like that, but then you've also got to wonder, is it the same Slitheen that gets out from that scene? Because obviously at the end they're all fighting over the skin suits, and there are 2 Slitheen fighting over Margaret.
Yeah.
So I've always liked in my head that it's actually a different Slitheen that got out of that than the one that was originally in Margaret.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
Obviously in Boomtown she's slightly nicer, I guess, because she's she goes for that whole thing of I saved someone, blah blah blah, and that's something that I couldn't have seen the first Margaret doing. But again,
baby.
It might be, or they could have changed, or it could just be something that I think we'll only really know if they make a Target novelization out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only way we'll know, and unless Russell makes some bold comment on social media being like, yes, it's a different Slitheen, but I highly doubt he's thinking about that.
No.
But yeah, I agree. That whole scene, the whole confrontation behind, but wow, any confrontation with Nine and the Slitheen, I think in this episode is really good. Even when he saves Harriet and Rose at the start with the fire extinguisher,
Yeah.
I think was quite funny. But yeah. So what's your third best?
Jackie and Mickey, their kind of character development as the ones who are left behind. I liked seeing them kind of had to step up, work together to kill the Slitheen, which was very entertaining. I enjoyed that. Giving them a real taste, probably a disgusting taste if some of it got in their mouth, of the Doctor's life. Helping save the day, Mickey having to set up the missile, hacking in and everything. And the fact that by the end of the episode, considering how both their relationships with the Doctor started, particularly in part one, the fact that the Doctor offers Mickey a chance to join them, and he kind of rejects it, being like, that's not my life, that's not for me. And Jackie's like, well, I'm ready to sit down and listen and chat with the guy, but obviously he still doesn't know the Doctor that well, because that's not what he's about either. So I really enjoyed their role in things, and it's just additional setup for later on down the line as well.
Yeah, with Mickey and Jackie, I can't think of another scene in the show where they have that sort of moment between just the two of them.
Yeah.
I can't. There's a maybe a bit of it in the Stolen Earth or Journey's End, I get, where they show up at the end, but never just with the two of them, I guess. So I like the fact that they put them together, especially considering, and Mickey makes this point, for the past year, Jackie's been like, "You've killed my daughter."
Yeah.
But and it's strange because it's that moment where you can sort of see that Jackie still kind of resents Mickey saving her life, because she now has to kind of backtrack on everything that she's been saying over the past year, and she doesn't apologize for it either. There's no moment where she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry for framing you for murder."
Yeah.
So I guess, yeah, I like that. I like the dynamic between those two. He comes to saves her life, obviously, twice. No, he saves her, and then she technically saves him with "Ooh yeah, pickled onions."
Yeah, she seemed really upbeat and happy considering there was a monster trying to break down the door and kill her.
It's that one. There's that line, the pickled onions. There's a couple here that a couple of lines that stick in my head with right at the start as well, when Nine's trying to get the Slitheen. He's like, "He did it, that man there." And I'm like, why are there so many like rememberable lines? And the Slickeen bit as well.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's the Slickeen. Oh, that she does the arm movements of it.
Yeah. So there's a couple of those moments in the episode where I was like, they're just standout lines that for no reason other than they're said weird.
Yeah, I also very nearly put on the positives if I couldn't think of anything. When Rose, the Doctor phones Rose at the end, and she's like, "Oh, my mother's cooking." He's like, "I'm going to leave on a slow heat and let it simmer," or something like that. That's such a good line.
Yeah. So I agree with you that the two characters together are a good one, but I have an issue with Jackie separately, which we'll come on to in a bit.
Ooh, interesting. Okay.
But my third best bit is the dry comedy in this episode, because there's a couple of moments where it's just like not slapstick, just played straight. There's the bit where Nine traps them in the cabinet room, and they're like, "They can't get in, correct? So we can't get out." And he's like, "Ah." That's just, it's not like an outright joke, but it's funny to just see the reaction.
The stupidest genius ever.
Yeah, and that carries on. Like, that's the start. We see the start of 10, 11 in 9, I think, in this episode a couple of times. Obviously with 10's whole, "I don't do sticking around for food," and the whole and even I thought when he put the body in the wardrobe, which they then took back out again to save themselves, he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," which is something that is sort of synonymous with what the 10th Doctor does. But yeah, there was that, and then there was the bit at the end where the army guy's like, "I need to go and tell them," and he just opens, and all the Slitheen there, and he goes, "Sorry," and leaves again. That again is played completely straight. And then the bit when they try and corner the Doctor and he's against the lift and he backs into it, and then he comes up and the door's open and there's a Slitheen there, and he goes, "Hello," and then he goes, "All right."
I'll leave you to it.
Yeah. So I think the dry comedy in this is probably some of the best in this series, especially. But again,
Mhm.
that plays to Chris Eccleston and Nine and the charisma that the Doctor has, even if people don't realize it.
Yeah.
So, what was your third best?
Jackie and Mickey.
Was it? Have you got any more add-ons then? Any more positives?
No, it was Dr. Rose and Harriet, Jackie and Mickey, and the Dr. and Margaret confrontation.
Fair enough. Yeah, I even put on here as an extra Mickey himself.
Yeah, and I would say the Celine as a villain again. I think they're even better this one.
Yeah. With Mickey, and you mentioned it with that scene where the Doctor offers him, I think he kind of realizes that Rose wouldn't want him there more than him not wanting to go, because that's something that gets played on a bit in School Reunion as well, where he gets the second opportunity to travel with them. He kind of looks at her and he's like, "Is that okay?" So I think there's an element of that being like, I don't want to, coddle her a little bit, even though she then goes and asks, "Oh, do you want to come?" I think that's more out of politeness than, actually wanting him there.
I do like the Doctor in that scene as well. He's kind of like just going along with what Mickey wants.
Well, that's the other thing, is that their relationship definitely moves forward in this episode. He recognizes that Mickey's quite smart, even if he's just typing in the same password to like 4 different websites.
Yeah.
He recognizes smart, and he although he'll call him an idiot and call him Ricky, we see it in this and we see it in Boomtown, that he kind of, he recognizes what he could bring to the team, which is, eventually why he does come along for one adventure before he then gets left behind again. Of his own choice, to be fair.
Yeah, of his own accord, which is rare for a companion, really.
Yeah. But we'll skip on to the worst then. For me, my top one, it's kind of a meh one, is Jackie, ?
Okay.
Just because I think that even though she's like, I'm ready to listen, she's still just doing it for herself. Mm-hmm. She's not doing it because that's what Rose wants to do. And then you also see that when she's like, don't go, don't leave, I don't want you to leave. Like, it's not a case of, I don't think it's not a case for care for her daughter. I think it's just she doesn't want to be alone again, which is kind of sad, because obviously, it's only been her and Rose literally since Rose was a baby. And we see that more sort of in the later in the season. But I think
that's kind of her whole arc in Never Monsters as well. So I feel like that's probably true.
Yeah. And then even when she's sort of with Mickey in that scene, and when Mickey's trying to save the world, she's still like, I could stop you. And I think that's still thinking about herself being alone because Rose could die. Mm-hmm. At that moment, she's not thinking, oh, the whole planet's going to die. I know I love my daughter, but, there are billions of people on the world. And then, a tad bit whiny as well, I think, which is because she does. Camille Cordroy has a very good way of getting very high pitched in stressful situations. And again, you see that with the pickled onions line and that whole thing. But there is some progression for her character there, which is why she's only a question mark rather than an outright worst. Because she doesn't stop Mickey. She does let Rose go. She does accept it. So, it's on the line, but it borders onto worst for me, I guess.
Yeah. Do we not see her again in present day until the finale after this? She's in Father's Day, but obviously that's in the past, I think.
Yeah, because we don't see her in Boomtown.
Yeah.
No, I don't think we do, unless Rose phones her after Father's Day, but I don't think she does.
Maybe.
No, I'm thinking of different. No, I don't think so, because we see young Rose and Jackie talking at bedtime.
Yeah.
But I can't. No,
I don't think so.
No,
it's interesting.
Well, that's it. We see Mickey in Boomtown. I don't know why. I guess to add more progression to his character.
Why are you here, Mickey?
I was just sort of thinking, like, why would she call Mickey and not her mum? But don't know.
Maybe she doesn't like Cardiff.
That's fair. No, that's not. Cardiff's nice. It's just gotten worse since they got rid of the Doctor Who experience. Right, that's it.
It's true. I don't want to talk about that.
So what's your first worst bit then?
The only legitimate complaint I could really think of, I feel like there's a huge lack of consistency between the practical Slitheen and the CGI Slitheen that I found very, very jarring. The CGI Slitheen are so fast and threatening and
Yeah.
boom, and then all the practical costumes can do is do this and like wobble along. And when they're hunting, it was like, it seems like they're two different kind of subspecies of Slitheen, not meant to be the same thing. But I get they just can't achieve, I feel like CGI Slitheen is what you'd have in your head the whole time, but budget, money, you just need practical costumes. So yeah, I just found that difference very jarring.
Yeah, I put on mine dodgy Slitheen running CGI, which the CGI is dodgy in the first place. But yeah, at the same time, I'm like, how are Rose and Harriet staying ahead of them when they like burst like Jedi speed through the door, chasing after them, and then you just see them wobbling along? I'm like, I get you're trying to add the horror element of the fact that these creepy aliens can sort of chase after you. Creepy aliens can chase after you. But yeah, it is quite, when you stop and think about it, it's like how they shouldn't be. There should be no contest here, unless unless they keep like darting around corners so they can't build up the speed.
Yeah.
But no, we don't. But I do agree with you that the difference between the two is obvious.
That was the only thing when I was watching it that like really bothered me. I had to really think hard for some other stuff.
Interesting. Okay, well, the first sort of major one for me is the cliffhanger resolution.
Okay, well, actually, that was kind of one of my ones.
Because how does the electricity affect them all?
It's very convenient. That's why I put as my next one.
Yeah, because like it makes sense in episodes like Planet of the Ood or whatever, when they have a hive mind and they're all connected to the one. But this is supposedly just a bit of tech on around their necks that can help them shrink. It's not something that helps them live on Earth as a Slitheen. It's not something that unless they communicate with them, but we don't really see that. And obviously they can't. I don't think they do, because I think the police officer's on the phone at one point, and then when he dies, it's like, oh, I felt it. So it's not like I was told. So yeah, because I remember the electricity being resolved with the doctor taking it off, and I'm also like, how does that not kill you anyway? That's still a lot of electricity.
Why are you not David Tennant?
So I just didn't. I didn't get it. I get it kills humans because fine, humans are weak and Time Lords have enhanced biology, but still, that's a big electric shock. But then again, David Tennant does get struck by lightning in Daleks in Manhattan, so
that's true.
So maybe they're just electric resistant. I don't know. But yeah, they found quite easy. It was an easy out. Although I did like that it went straight from the previously and continued into the resolution.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'd forgotten they did that.
Because it doesn't say previously, or at least I didn't see it say previously at the start. It just sort of did a quick montage and then went into it. And I do like the fact that the CGI of 9 taking it off and sort of putting it on Slitheen. I thought that was done pretty well.
Yeah, I like the idea that the Slitheen didn't know he was human, and that's a way that they could get out of it. I thought that was good. It's just, it's very convenient that affects them all, because then it's like, well, how else does it have to affect you all at the same time? Like, does that mean you all have to be in skin suits at exactly the same time because you all like this hive mind technology thing? It's it's convenient.
Yeah, so but I mean, fine, whatever, it's fine. I'll allow it, but it did sort of be like, all right then, I guess.
Yeah.
But what was your other worsts?
So yeah, it was that kind of easy, convenient way out. And then this one is just, I was really struggling, okay? So I just wrote, your body is magnificent. That line made me want to die.
Yeah. I was watching it, I was like, I didn't notice how erotic these Slitheen were with each other.
Yeah, they want to be naked all the time.
That's
I
it.
Get it.
Even
don't keep saying it.
Even right at the end, they're like, Victory must be naked. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I like, why? Where does this obsession come from? But obviously they wanted to get the budget out of the costumes.
But I am kind of glad of that because then it means no farting. So
I did put in one of my lists. I went less farting with a question mark because I think there's a couple, but there's no scene where they're like laughing and farting.
yeah,
But they do
thank
spend
God.
a lot more time out of the costumes as well, which is good.
Mm.
All right. Well, then my third one was the sort of escape for the trio in the end, where they survived in a cupboard.
Yeah,
Because again, that felt very electricity sort of convenient. I was like, why don't you just say, they even say that it's meant to withstand like a bomb or whatever, the cabinet room. So why do they need to get in the cupboard and survive that
yeah. I
way?
suppose it's so they don't get thrown around the entire room. I guess.
Maybe, but you see them get thrown around that tiny room
Can
anyway.
you imagine they just like the doctors are like, oh, if I could save the world but lose you, and then they just stay in that room, boom, 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 and then like Rose is just there with her neck broken because he's been flung across the room.
The table has just gone. Yeah, I mean, but again, I was like, I like the fact that they literally blew themselves up. I like the fact that, and that again shows that Nine is still willing to kill to save people, I guess, for the greater good.
I did like Rose's practicality and being like, right, I'm not just going to sit here and take it. It was a good callback to her in The Unquiet Dead, I think, when she doesn't want to go out fighting.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fine, but then it also makes me think that they then removed the 2 dead bodies that were in that cupboard and put them in the main room to either get blown up or thrown about even more.
Yeah. But nothing left of them. Nothing for the families to bury.
That's it. But I mean, again, it was they need a way out of this. The only way out is to blow everything up and then have them conveniently survive.
Yeah.
But I mean, in later seasons, we'd have had a TARDIS materializes around them, or they just run past the Slitheen while they're all in the room. Because they could have done that. They were all in that one room.
Yeah.
There was none out in the cupboards. They could have literally just run out with the rest of them.
What I would have given to see a take of the Slitheen just going, oh, bollocks, before they get blown up.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Again, that goes back to the sort of dry comedy as well. I mean, that's an obvious joke, but the fact that they put it in shows that despite this being quite a creepy premise, and the Slitheen are quite creepy in this episode anyway, it still adds in the humour.
Any comedy that wasn't the farting for Slitheen absolutely worked for me. Yeah,
and I think they might have done that to balance out the previous episode, because there wasn't this much in the last one.
Yeah.
But is there any other worsts for yourself?
Not really. I did quite struggle to come up with any legitimate ones apart from the CGI Slitheen.
Yeah, fair enough. So have you got any other sort of additional points that you want to make that just weren't?
I mean, fun fact, maybe. This was originally called 10 Downing Street, which I think is a really boring title, so I'm glad they changed it. Although originally this entire story was Aliens of London Part 1, Aliens of London Part 2. So there you go.
Yeah, because World War III is a bit... I guess it doesn't really make sense.
Because, it's just because like we are at war. But and
also that
aliens though.
That was the other bit, is that, and I think this is mentioned in Writer's Tale, is that the weapons of destruction, like we found the weapons of destruction type thing, is a reference to obviously the Iraq War that was started after 9/11, when I think America was like, we found weapons of mass destruction, so we need to invade. That's sort of the subtle, or what Russell T Davies wanted to make a subtle dig at politics in this, and he was going to have.
There's no politics in Doctor
Oh yeah, sorry, you're right. My mistake. I'm sorry. A couple of other things that I did sort of like and wanted to point out. The Doctor makes a child a slave at one point. How does he find the child to clean off the bad wolf graffiti?
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
I was like, what the hell? I missed that. Was that a delete scene?
but right at the end, like the child is scrubbing off the graffiti. I'm like, A,
how did you track him down?
How did you track that child down? And B, how did the graffiti not wash off when you travelled in time and space
to get into London? In the finale, when Rose is like, I take these words and scatter them across time and space, I wish it just like cut to that little boy suddenly being like possessed and being told to write bad wolf on the TARDIS.
Yeah. I like that, and that sort of goes into also with Mickey's reading the paper, and they were like, "Was it a hoax?" And again, I like the fact that anything major happens, the human race is like, "Nah, sorry, that didn't exist. It was something else."
Yeah.
And even Sarah Jane plays on that a bit as well. In their sort of first episode with the Slitheen, where they're like, "Oh, Mr. Smith said it was all said it was all like an internet Wi-Fi thing or whatever."
Yeah.
So I like the fact that the human race is just so easy to fool, and I
And
mean,
it's annoyingly believable as well.
yeah,
So
yeah.
even now, people are like, "Oh, COVID-19's a hoax. That's not real."
I
So
just,
of course they would not believe any of this shit.
yeah, I wrote alien deniers as a nod to COVID deniers and vaccine deniers and things like that. And yeah, so I like and that sort of paves the way for the Master to come in season 3 because they're so easily to manipulate, and he successfully does it. The other thing I point out was that I liked that there was an old-fashioned weakness instead of just having to kill them, I guess, because it's similar to the Cybermen and their gold weakness and things like that. And there was an actual Achilles heel rather than it just being like he blew them up in the end, but there are other ways to stop them.
Yeah, I took out one.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
But at least it sort of comes back again in Sarah Jane Adventures when they go
in a huge way. Yeah.
So I like the fact that they have a weakness rather than it just being a bad alien. Also, I just like the idea that Russell T Davies sat there at one point and went, "I know what's a good name for a planet, Raxacor," and he had to write it all down. I feel
like he got a bag of Scrabble pieces out and just went,
just threw them. Yeah,
like, Raxacor. Yeah, okay,
that works. Yeah, so I like that, and I like that comes back again later in the season where Rose can't say the name. And then I like that it also comes back in series 2 with Clom. So yeah, I enjoyed that. What else have I got? Oh, you never see the Slitheen put their disguises back on. You see them always take it off, but they never put them back on. I don't know why.
That's true. Yeah,
you kind of see it. You see it a little bit, I think. Maybe at the end when they're trying. No, they're taking it off still because at the end they're fighting over all the bodies.
Yeah, there's a bit at the start when he's like, "Oh, hurry, help me back in." And he's just like sticking his foot in it. You don't see the entire process. No. That would be interesting to see how that works.
It's because the feet are too big to even fit in the suit. So they went, just pretend to do it. We'll cut away. And then sort of sticking to that, where was it? Less farting. Buffalo password can override everything. A side note to that, I haven't been on the website to see if it still works. But as mentioned last week, you could, when this episode came out, there was an actual unit website that you could go to and you could pretend to be firing missiles at places. You would just have to type in the password, 2 F's and an L, and then you would be able to control the direction of this missile with your arrow keys, and it could land anywhere. And yeah, I had loads of fun with that. Doctor Who online games back in the day were amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a shame they don't do them anymore. What else? Yeah. Oh, Mickey checking his flat. Like when he saved Jackie from the Slitheen and they were back, he was like checking everywhere in his flat to make sure there wasn't a Slitheen hiding. He checked in his fridge as he got the milk out. He was like, and then when he came to his bedroom, he was like checking around the door, checking in his wardrobe. So I just enjoyed that. I don't know whether that was direction or Noel Clarke's idea, but
yeah,
I enjoyed the fact that that character would do that. I guess, and on a negative point, there's one bit of bad editing. I think it's when the missile's like on its way, and Jackie's like, "Oh my god!" and it like zooms in on her face for like too long.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was going to be in my negatives. I'd forgotten to write that down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It stuck out. I was like, what was that?
I completely forgotten about that. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Because
I hated that.
normally I don't notice some editing on in TV shows because normally it's fine, but this one stuck out really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know who decided to put it in. It feels like that was a very last minute thing.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like a classic Who nod or something because they did that all the time. But oh my god, no.
Yes, that was a bit. And yeah, and then Harriet Jones obviously isn't successful for 3 terms, which they don't really hint at again. I guess they do when they go in the end of series 2 when they're in the parallel universe, and they're like, "Oh, everything's great. She's in charge." And then, you know, without going into it too much, I kind of feel bad for her because she did what was right in Christmas Invasion, but we'll come on to that whenever. I think she did what was right.
Yeah, in like 9 weeks.
Yeah, and she does redeem herself by the end of series 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's fine. I guess. So yeah, what would you rate this then out of 10?
I would give it a very solid 8.
Interesting.
Really enjoyed it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's my second favorite of the season so far.
I think for me, it might be judging by the ratings, it is my first. I've given it an 8.5.
Oh, nice.
Mm.
Very solid.
I just thought that I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed the characters in it more. I enjoyed the interactions, the alien. Have an issue with the resolution, have an issue with how they resolved the cliffhanger, but they're minor things rather than, this episode's ruined because the Doctor didn't get electrocuted.
Yeah.
Like it's fine, I can accept it.
This is probably like the best performing one so far against both of our scores then.
I think so. Yeah, I don't think we've not disagreed massively on this episode. We've agreed a fair bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but I haven't rewatched this episode as much as I have other Chris Ferguson ones. I don't know whether that's because sometimes I just put Doctor Who on when I'm going to sleep and it plays through the second part and I never see it.
Yeah.
But I sort of sat through it and I started watching it. I was like, oh, I forgot how good this episode is. But yeah, so that's a pretty high rating for us.
Yeah.
Next time,
boy.
I wonder what the villain is because it's called Dalek.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah,
it was in the next time trailer as well, I suppose. But
yeah, it was at the end of the next time, which I was watching the next time. I was like, are they gonna show it? Are they gonna be like, yeah, here's what it is? Because they were teasing it throughout.
My laptop's about to die.
Oh no, this is all staying in. I'm not editing around this. If Liam goes blank, he's died.
Fine, it's saved.
Nice. Yeah, so this is next time's obviously the introduction of the most iconic Doctor Who villain ever.
Yeah, I watched this about 2 days before you messaged me with the idea to do this.
Yeah,
so I'm ready.
Nice. Yeah, so well, I guess obviously we know what's going to happen, but sort of where does next episode sit with you before, I guess, watching it again?
Definitely in the top. I mean, I only watched it like what 6-7 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I bloody love it. It's so good. Do I prefer it to Unquiet Dead is going to be the question. I will have to watch it again and decide that because I hadn't watched Unquiet Dead in ages when I watched Dalek. So we'll see. But easily going to be in my top 2. I would be very surprised if it's not.
Yeah, I'll say this will be another episode where a video game came out of it. A computer game where you play as a Dalek killing everyone. And that was just a unique game that came out that I don't think you can play anymore. I think because it was a Flash game, and now that Flash has stopped, I think it's gone. But yeah, I think this will be up there for me. Bar the one character that gets introduced, who's just the worst.
Yeah, I already know negative for the next one.
Yeah. Even before watching it, I know what's going to be in my negative column. But I think other than that, it's going to be quite difficult for me to come up with more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's next. Next time is Dalek. So come back for that. And we'll be almost halfway through the series, won't we?
Pretty much, yeah.
There's 13?
Yeah.
So almost halfway through, pretty much. Coming up to the Empty Child, which is another fan favorite.
Yeah.
Which I think is 3 episode times, isn't it? I think because we've got
episode 9.
Yeah, we've got this one.
9
and
we've 10, got
then we've got the long game. Oh, okay.
I do think aside from the long game, I think the second half of series 1's like really damn good.
It must be. No, it must be episode, 10, 11 it must be, because Father's Day's before.
Father's Day's
isn't
episode
it?
8.
Yeah. Oh Christ, what episode are we on? 5, 6,
Yeah.
7, 8.
It's Dalek,
9,
Long
9,
Game, Father's Day, Empty Child.
See, there's the whole thing where you could put most of these episodes in any order, bar from the Empty Child through to the end. That has to say the same, but everything else, I think you could put wherever you want.
Yeah.
Really. Well, that's enough waffling on from me. If you enjoyed this, you're welcome to subscribe. You don't have to again, but if you want to. This comes out at least once a week. I highly doubt it will come out more than once because I have a full-time job. If you like Liam, then you can go to his YouTube channel, which will be linked back down below. He does considerably more content than myself. Basically, at least one thing every day, near enough.
Pretty much.
Unless there's some copyright issues, which almost definitely will happen.
Yeah.
And I will also link both of our Twitters down below because I think we post some fire content, but other people,
you may be biased.
I may be biased, but just saying. Other than that, we'll see you next week, maybe. Goodbye.
Good day.
Nice knowing you both. Hannibal!